Good morning, everybody. I've got my coffee this morning and I'm still in my gown and I haven't had my shower. So, um, I really like doing the YouTube thing. I did 10 different vlogs yesterday and I found that it was easier than I thought. I think because one thing is when I try to tell people my story about my life with my ex-husband, they they tend to judge me, or maybe not judge, but they want to put their opinion in, and of course give me advice and everything, and that's the way it's always been. um, Doing it this way helps me to get out what I want to say and not be interrupted and not see their faces. Like, it bothers me when I see a person's face and they look like they're bored or they're tired of listening to me. But this way I can just talk and not have any interruptions. So I do like it. And the first video I did, it took me forever to just get it started because I couldn't even I couldn't even hardly form a word. I didn't know how to get started, so I just thought, well, just go for it. So anyway, I did 10 vlogs yesterday, and I'm still trying to download them. It takes forever. I didn't realize how long it took, and I didn't realize how long I was talking on each one. I have a lot of stuff to say, and I know some of you are probably thinking, well, she's just a whiny baby. You know, there's so many people out there a lot worse off than she is. That's true. I know that. But this is my life, and this is, as I get further into it, I think you'll understand. I just hope you'll keep watching because, um, the reason I'm doing this is not for sympathy. I'm not doing it to get any kind of attention. It's mainly for my record, to have in case I die, in case, you know, later on when my grandchildren get older and, um, they start having problems with their parents. And if they want to be with me, you know, I want them to see, um, that I'm not a crazy person like they claim I am. Well, not my grandchildren, but my adult children. Uh, they, it's hard to, I don't want to jump around because I have to do everything in sequence because, it's easier for me to start at the beginning because I have a really bad short term memory, but my long term memory, I have a lot of things that, um, I remember because it affected me, in such a deep way. And but anyway, yesterday I was telling you about how when the kids got in school and how involved my ex-husband and I were, and we we volunteered, we did everything, for our kids. We wanted them to have the kind of a life that we didn't have growing up. And so we were the kind of parents that was just, wanted we involved them in everything that was out there to be involved with. And we had a lot of fun with it. We enjoyed, watching our kids play sports, and we enjoyed watching our little girl in beauty walks. And, a lot of it's just silly stuff. Some people don't believe, that you should, have your kids in beauty walks, but our little girl was just a little sweet, precious, beautiful little girl. And we spoiled her. She was the youngest, and we doted, especially me. I doted over her. She had the cutest clothes, and her hair was always fixed. And when she was 5 years old, or well, let's say she was maybe 7 years old, um, I had them to put a perm in her hair. Curly hair was big back then, and she wanted curly hair. So, you know, we did the perm, and she had the cutest, prettiest hair. I don't know. It was just, she was just sweet and cute, and her brothers loved her, and they, you know, protected her and everything. So, anyway, we had some friends of ours that um, I was thrilled to get to know these people. Um, the guy went to school with us, and he was very popular. He played football, and he was very popular when I was in high school, and they wanted to be friends with us, and so we hung out together a lot. Well, her little girl um, was my oldest son's age, and she got mono and was sick for a little while. And so before we found out she had mono, they had been to our house and everything. Well, I started feeling bad one day, and I was sick for a while before they realized that I had contacted the mono. And the only thing I can think of is that I drank out of her glass by accident, or I didn't wash it well enough, or something, because I was really not in any kind of contact with the child. They had just been to our house. So, anyway, my my immune system was so bad that it affected my oh, what do you call it? I can't remember, but anyway, it affected me really bad, and it took about a month before the doctors diagnosed me with it. But I couldn't. I would sleep all night, get up in the morning, and I could barely get off the couch. And I would, lay around all day. I would have fevers late at night, and I kept going to the doctors, and they kept telling me, they kept running tests, and then they finally said I had Epstein-Barr virus. So it took me a long time to get over it totally. Well, I never really got over it totally because it affected my whole life afterwards. So anyway, I had told my friend that I had gotten the mono. I was kidding with her. I said, I was talking to her on the phone, and I said, your little stinking girl gave me mono. And she took it the wrong way, and she blew up and got mad at me. So she didn't want anything to do with us anymore. And I don't know what I did, what I said that was so wrong. But we had gone on a vacation trip together anyway before that, and she she kept something going all the time. So our friendship kind of died down. So anyway, we lived in that house, and like I said, my daughter was injured at a fast food restaurant, McDonald's or Hardee's or something like that. And we we didn't sue them. They just, when the accident happened, they had to call an ambulance because it was in a rural area. There were no hospitals nearby, and it just crushed her finger. And so an ambulance came and got her doctored up, and they told us when we went to the next town, whatever, to stop, that she needed a few stitches. So they did an accident report, and a few months later, we got a check in the mail for $5,000, and that paid some of her medical bills and everything. So we took that money and bought a mobile home. We were able to get the mobile home, even though our credit was not good, but we had to pay, you know, I want to say about $4,000 that we paid down on it. Uh, so, we decided instead of putting it up for her, we needed our own place. So we did. We bought the mobile home, and like I said, he fell and broke his wrist, and we almost lost everything we had. So we ended up moving back in with his parents, and I don't know what we would have done if it hadn't have been for his parents. Maybe it was too uh, easy, and we gave up too soon. I believe, um, we we didn't want people to know our business, and it was embarrassing, but we just didn't stick it out. We just gave up too soon. We were always thinking, okay, this is coming up, this is happening, so we've got to do something really quick. Um, and they, had the house in front of them to come empty, so it was on a dead end street, and they were the last house on the end of the road. So we moved in the house across the street from them. And I started working at the hospital, and things were back on track and everything. And I wanted to go to nursing school. I started, the hospital offered free classes, and so I decided that I would take some classes, and I would go to my classes, I think 3 nights a week. Well, my husband found out, he wanted to know what time, I took the breaks and everything. And he started coming to the school and with the kids in the car, and I started going out there, and seeing the kids and everything. And he would whine, and he didn't want me going to school. He wanted me there with the kids because I don't think he didn't like taking care of them. He wasn't somebody that um he liked playing with them and doing the fun stuff, but when it come to the really, fixing them dinner and making sure they get their baths and doing homework and stuff like that, he didn't like doing that. So I ended up stopped going to school because it was difficult because I was having problems still from the mono, and if I overexerted myself or pushed myself, I would get exhausted, and it 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 affected me health wise. So um, I quit going to school, and we lived there for we lived with his parents for a little while and paid some debts and everything off, and we moved into the house there, and I was working at the hospital. I'm trying to remember because I'm confused a little bit on where we went next. Um, a lot happened during that time. Um, I think it was during that time. Well, I know it was because I remember. Remember now. Let me get a sip of coffee. My shift that I was working midnights at the hospital. And I would come home and I worked from 7 to 7, 12-hour shifts. And before I left work, I would call my house and I would, make sure the kids were up getting dressed for school. And he always woke them up before he went to work. And so I, would call them, and we lived pretty close to the hospital. It was probably maybe a 6-minute drive. So I would give them a call and make sure they were getting up and getting dressed and everything. So when I got home, most of the time they were dressed. Sometimes they went back to sleep. So it was a rush thing, trying to get them out the door to the school so I can get home and go to bed. So we had our routine, and we did that for a while. And my body just started breaking down because I wasn't getting enough rest. They they could have rode the school bus, and that would have helped me out a lot. But I was, you know, my kids were too good to ride the bus. Uh, they there was a lot of mess going on the school buses. So I made sure that they got to school safe, and I picked them up in the afternoons. I would wake up about 2 o'clock and get dressed and go to the school and pick them up and go home, cook dinner. Well, first it was either baseball practice or football practice for one of them. I had two boys. One of them liked to play sports, and the other one didn't. And so it was, cheerleading practice, baseball practice, football practice. Uh, One of my children were in on the swim team at the university, and it was just a lot of stuff going on. Then when we got through, we would go home. I would cook dinner, and then I would try to lay down for a couple hours before I had to go to work. Well, actually, that was when I worked 11 to 7, and they changed the shifts to 7 to 7. So my time, I didn't have that much time um, from 7 o'clock. But now I worked, I believe, 4 days like that, and I was off for 3 days. So the schedule was good, but it just took a toll on me, and I had a nervous breakdown. I had gotten off of work one morning, and I came through the parking deck, and I drove through the gate that comes down that you have to pay, to get out. And I don't even remember driving home, and I got home and I was hysterical and crying, and my husband had to come and get me and take me to the hospital, and they put me in the hospital for a few days. And I just had a breakdown because I was taking not pain medicine, but I was taking BC powders. I would take probably 3 a day because my body would hurt all over. And so I quit my job because I had to miss work. I could have probably worked it out, but the hospital that I was in for the breakdown was the same place where I worked, and some of the people found out that I was in the psych ward, and it embarrassed me very, very bad, and I couldn't face them, and so I quit a good job, and that was my fault. But um, I have a problem with worrying about what people think of me. I especially did back then, and it was pride, and I didn't want to have to answer any questions. Everybody that I worked with knew that I was having problems anyway with the pain and struggling trying to do everything that a mom does, and with 3 kids. My ex-husband, he wasn't a whole lot of help with discipline and stuff like that, and I wanted to keep my image uh, that I had, and um, it was just too much for me to try to keep up with everybody, and um, so I became very sick. So anyway, I started um, taking antidepressants. That was, I think, in 91. The doctor put me on Prozac, and um, it helped me a lot. The Prozac did. It helped me a lot. So anyway, um, things got better for me. I felt better, but I didn't have a job. Um, we had our friends that we would always go to. They were doing a business where they would set up in the mall and sell um, calligraphy, poems, um, in frames and everything. And it was through a company in South Carolina. And they helped us get this started. And so during Christmas, well, Thanksgiving, right around that area, we set up in the mall, and we did really good. I loved going there, and we had our tables set up, and they provided everything we needed, and at the end, you get a percentage, and I loved meeting people. I loved being in the mall, and we, I would make up the frames and had them all set out, and while I was there, we had a store called Gaffer's. It was a department store in the mall, kind of like Macy's. It was a upper end, very nice. And now it's Dillard's. Some of you probably know they changed it to Dillard's, but then they closed several years later. But they were hiring part time, and so I wanted to work there to get discount, because that's where I bought most of my children's clothes. And so I applied and was hired there, and I worked there probably 3 or 4 years, and I loved it. Um, I had a lady to come, a friend of ours. Her husband worked with my husband, and she helped me with the booth in the mall. Plus, I was doing that. So we did the booth thing for a couple of years um, while I was working at Gapers, and my job at Gapers turned into full time, and so I loved working in retail, and so I worked there for a while, but we moved. Well, let me stop this because it's going on 25 minutes already. I can't believe that. Okay, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our next move.